A Mark Brown Arthur chapter book. Buster's New Friend. Text by Stephen Krensky. Based on a teleplay by Matt Steinglass. For Miles Criffield, FCN. First Class Nephew. Chapter 1. Arthur was sprawled on the rug in the den playing with two horseshoe magnets. If he touched their ends together one way, the magnets stuck together. But if he flipped one over, then the ends repelled each other. His sister D.W. came in and turned on the TV. "D.W., can't you see I'm working?" "But, Arthur, it's time." "Up next," said the TV announcer, "it's a half-hour of action-packed thrills with Earth's mightiest superhero, Bionic Bunny." "Oh, sorry," said Arthur. "I didn't realize it was that late." A key zipped out from under the couch and stuck to one of the magnets. "Did you see that?" asked D.W. "It was magic." "Not magic," said Arthur. "Magnetism. An invisible force that attracts metal objects together." "That's what I said." "Magic." Arthur sighed. "Anyway, don't touch these magnets. They're for the science project I'm doing with Buster. He's coming over to watch Bionic Bunny, and then we're going to work together." "Can I help?" "I'll bet I could be good at magic." "No, you can't. You're too young." D.W. made a face. "But you can watch Bionic Bunny with us," Arthur added. "Okay." D.W. looked out the window. "Why isn't Buster here already?" "Bionic Bunny is about to start." "He'll be here," said Arthur. "He always makes it in time." But not that day. The show opened as Bionic Bunny raced through the sky trying to stop a missile from exploding. "Must stop missile," he said, straining every muscle in his bionic body. D.W. tugged Arthur's sleeve. "Maybe Buster doesn't like Bionic Bunny anymore." "Don't be silly," said Arthur. "Buster's just running a little late." A half-hour later, the show concluded with the president congratulating Bionic Bunny on the White House lawn. "You're a credit to the country," said the president. Bionic Bunny stared at the grass. "I do the best I can, sir," he said. "Thanks for saving the free world," the president went on. "But, who are you, really?" asked a nearby reporter. "Just a citizen trying to do his duty," Bionic Bunny insisted, flying into the sunset as the credits started to roll. Arthur clicked off the TV, frowning. There was still no sign of Buster. How could they do the project together if Buster wasn't there? "Buster missed the whole episode," said D.W. "I know that," D.W. said Arthur. "Something must have happened. Maybe something terrible." Arthur went to the telephone. He called Buster's mother at work. "Hello, Mrs. Baxter? This is Arthur. I've been waiting a long time for Buster, but he's not here. I think he's missing." "He's not? He's where?" Arthur frowned. "Oh, I see. Well, thanks. Sorry to bother you. Bye." Arthur hung up. "So where is he?" asked D.W. "He's out playing miniature golf." "Why didn't he invite you?" "Mrs. Baxter said he's playing with his new friend, Mike." "Mike?" D.W. frowned. "Who's Mike?" Arthur had no idea. Chapter 2. The next morning, Arthur met Buster at their usual corner on the way to school. Buster wasn't moving too fast, because he was hitting a golf ball with a stick as he walked. "Steady," Buster mumbled to himself. "Steady. Buster?" "Oh, hi, Arthur." Buster picked up the ball and put it in his pocket. "I was just practicing." Yesterday I went mini-golfing with my new friend, Mike. So that's where you were. Don't you know you missed Bionic Bunny? Buster shrugged. It's only a cartoon, Arthur. And I'll bet we've seen it before. Well, yes, but... Did I tell you that Mike got a hole-in-one on the 14th hole? Hardly anyone ever does that. It has a water hazard. Mike? Who's Mike? Buster bragged, just the best mini-golfer I've ever seen. You should see how he judges the slope of the turf. He kneels down and everything. Is that important? Of course. Arthur frowned. Well, in case you've forgotten, we were supposed to. I know, said Buster. You do? I shouldn't just talk about the mini-golf. There's a lot more to Mike than that. He has tons of amazing CDs. He knows the lines from all the old movies. Everyone who knows Mike thinks he's really cool. Just over the horizon, a boy in a leather jacket and sunglasses was riding his mountain bike down the road. Buster was riding beside him. They pulled up to the mini-golf course and were immediately surrounded by their fans. It's Mike! And Buster! I think I'm going to faint. Everyone herded closer, hoping to get an autograph. Arthur was stuck at the back, but he tried to inch forward. Excuse me, coming through. Excuse me. An angry fan turned to him. No pushing. You have to wait your turn just like the rest of us. But I know them, said Arthur. Buster and I have been friends for years. Yeah, right. Then why are you stuck back here? Arthur didn't have a good answer. Please. I must get closer. Nobody cared. Far ahead, Mike and Buster were swept away by a sea of well-wishers, and Arthur was left behind. So what do you think? Buster asked. Arthur blinked. Somehow they had arrived at school. What do I think of what? He asked. Of Mike, silly. I've been telling you all about him. He sounds terrific. Maybe the three of us could do something together. Buster beamed. That's a great idea. I'm sure Mike could help us out on our science project. So you do remember? Naturally. Well, I've been doing a lot of research. And I think the best. We'll ask Mike what to do, said Buster. I'll bet he knows a lot about scientific stuff. Okay, said Arthur. Sure. Bring him by after school. We'll be there, said Buster. They went inside. Chapter 3. That afternoon, Arthur sat at his desk inspecting all the materials for his science project. He had magnets in different shapes and sizes and lots of metal washers, paper clips, nails, and screws. Arthur was looking through a book, Sticking Together, Magnetism Through the Ages, when there was a knock at the door. Come in, said Arthur. He was expecting Buster and Mike, but it was his mother instead. She was carrying a tray with 3 glasses of juice and a bowl of popcorn. I brought up a snack for you and your friends. Thanks, Mom. I'm sure they'll be here any minute. Mrs. Reed put down the tray. Have a good time, she said, and don't work too hard. Then she left. For a few more minutes, Arthur sat waiting for Buster and Mike to show up. Finally, he took a sip of juice and a handful of popcorn. I guess I should get started without them, he said to himself. An hour later, the 3 glasses were empty and so was the bowl. So, said Arthur, reading aloud, if the magnetic field goes out sideways from the poles of the magnet. He had tested all of the metal objects on the desk and had taken 3 pages of notes on which one stuck to the magnet. "Arthur," said Mrs. Red, sticking her head through the doorway. "Yes, Mom?" His mother looked around. "What happened to Buster and Mike?" "I guess they must have forgotten." "Oh, dear. That isn't like Buster." "Well, I'm sure he had a good reason. Anyway, dinner's in a few minutes." "Okay." He glanced at the empty bowl and glasses. "I'm not that hungry, but I'll be down." After she left, Arthur stared at his magnets and then knocked them all over. "Yeah," he said, "I'll just bet they forgot." Arthur was standing at the door of a laboratory gleaming with stainless steel tables. All along one wall was a bank of computers, their lights flashing furiously. In the middle of the room, a figure in a white lab coat stood at a long bench. His back was to Arthur, so Arthur couldn't tell who he was. But Arthur did recognize Buster, who was strapped to the bench itself. He was struggling to get free. "Your efforts are useless," said the figure. "You are in my power." "Never," said Buster. "I will not give in to you. My will has the strength of 1,000 butterflies." "Butterflies don't have much strength," the figure pointed out. "Don't forget, I said 1,000 of them. That should count for something." The figure cackled loudly. "Have you forgot 10? I am Dr. Mike. Your will is putty in my hands." He took out a shiny watch and swung it in front of Buster's face. "That old trick?" said Buster. "I've seen a lot of old movies. I'm not falling for that." Dr. Mike swung the watch back and forth, back and forth. "Repeat after me." "I will not go to Arthur's house," said Dr. Mike. Buster's face suddenly went blank. "I will not go to Arthur's house," he repeated. "I will never visit Arthur's house again," said Dr. Mike. "I will never visit Arthur's house again," said Buster. Arthur tried to call out and rush to Buster, but his voice didn't work. And his feet felt like they were nailed to the floor. Dr. Mike cackled again, and Arthur shuddered. There was nothing he could do. He was powerless. Chapter 4. At lunch the next day, Arthur sat eating his sandwich in the cafeteria. Francine, Muffy, and the Brain were sitting there, too. But if any of them had suddenly asked Arthur what he was eating, he wouldn't have been able to say. His mind was on other things. "Earth to Arthur," said Francine. "Come in, Arthur." "Huh?" Arthur sat up. "Sorry,